just being a little bit more free to say what I want and not have to worry about what other people think.
What if the life you thought was built on faith, unity, and family was actually built on silence, control, and betrayal? What if the woman who was once silenced, pushed to the background, and made to feel invisible, finally stepped forward to tell the truth? This is the story of Christine Brown's shocking revelation about her escape, her healing, and her new life after leaving the world of sister wives behind. And trust me, what she reveals will leave you stunned. Welcome to Brown House Secrets, where we uncover the untold stories, the hidden truths, and the emotional journeys that the cameras never fully showed you. The breaking point. Christine was once celebrated as the fun wife, the one who brought joy, the food, and laughter into a family weighed down by rules and expectations. But behind her smile, a storm was brewing. For years, she played her role, raising children, supporting her sister wives, and desperately waiting for Kody's attention. But then came the breaking point, the surgery of her daughter, Isabel. Christine begged Kody to be there. She pleaded with him to stand by their daughter in her moment of greatest need. Instead, he turned his back. He chose COVID rules over fatherhood. He chose distance over love. In that moment, Christine says something inside her finally shattered. It wasn't just about Isabel. It was about decades of being placed last. Decades of swallowing her pain while Kody's world revolved around Robin. And Christine made a choice that would change everything. The silent decision. When Christine decided to leave, she didn't scream. She didn't make threats. She simply began to quietly reclaim her power. She packed her things. She told her children. And finally, she told Kody, "I can't do this anymore." But here's the shocking part. Christine later revealed that she had been emotionally gone for years before that conversation. What fans saw on television was just the surface. The real unraveling had been happening in silence, hidden behind closed doors. Christine confessed, "I realized I didn't matter to him anymore." And when you stop mattering to someone you've given your life to, you have to decide if you'll keep shrinking, or if you'll stand up. That's when her new life began. The shocking revelation. Christine's revelation wasn't just that she left Kody. The real shock came when she revealed what life felt like after leaving. For the first time in decades, she said she could breathe. She could decorate her home the way she wanted. She could laugh without being policed. She could eat what she wanted, watch what she wanted, and live without Kody's constant disapproval hanging over her head. And then came the moment that no one expected. Christine found love again. Not with a man who wanted control. Not with someone who demanded loyalty without giving it back. But with someone who saw her, fully and completely. Christine described it in her own words, "I feel like a queen. I never knew love could be like this." For fans who had watched her pain for years, this revelation was nothing short of explosive. Christine wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Hook for part 2. But here's the twist, Christine's liberation didn't just free her. It shook the entire Brown family to its core. Because once Christine left, the other wives began to see the truth too. And what unfolded after Christine's shocking revelation was a domino effect that Kody and Robin never saw coming. Stay with us, because in the next part, we reveal how Christine's decision exposed the cracks in the family, leading to the collapse of everything Kody fought to control. What Christine revealed about her new life was just the beginning, but the ripple effect inside the Brown family was far more shocking than anyone could have predicted. And what you're about to hear will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about sister wives. Christine's decision to step away from Kody was not just a breakup. It was a collapse of an empire. For years, the Brown family had been portrayed as the example of modern polygamy, a family that could overcome challenges through faith and unity. But Christine's revelation tore open wounds that had been festering for decades, exposing the truth: unity had been a facade, and love had been conditional. As Christine built her new life, a shocking transformation began. She started showing the world what true independence looked like, laughing more freely, speaking more openly, and reclaiming the voice that had been silenced for years under Kody's dominance. But what truly shook fans was how quickly her children, especially Isabel and Truly, began to thrive away from the shadow of Robin's house rules and Kody's favoritism. Hook for audience: imagine living in a family where love is measured by obedience, where your worth depends on how closely you align with one man's ego. That's the reality Christine and her kids escaped from, but others weren't so lucky. Behind closed doors, Kody's anger grew uncontrollable. Sources close to the family revealed that he felt betrayed, humiliated, and, perhaps most importantly, exposed. For years, Kody had clung to the narrative that he was a man holding together 4 wives with divine purpose. But Christine's departure proved what many suspected all along: it was never about unity. It was always about control. And Robin? She panicked. With Christine gone, the public narrative shifted dramatically. Fans began labeling her as the manipulator, the favorite wife, the reason behind the collapse. On social media, viewers who once tolerated her became ruthless critics. Every tear Robin shed on camera was dissected, replayed, and exposed as a performance. Christine, meanwhile, embraced her freedom fully. She began sharing glimpses of her new life, celebrating milestones with her children, and even opening the door to new relationships. And every time she smiled in front of a camera, fans noticed a detail that cut like a knife: it wasn't just happiness, it was relief. Hook, but if Christine's relief was powerful, the devastation it left behind in the rest of the Brown family was absolutely earth-shattering. Janelle, who had long been Kody's silent partner in the shadows, found herself at a crossroads. For years, she had endured his neglect, convincing herself that stability was worth the sacrifice. But when she saw Christine break free, something shifted. Viewers could see it in her eyes, the realization that she too deserved more than scraps of affection. Even Mary, who had spent decades being ignored and dismissed, began to feel the weight of Christine's courage. For the first time in years, Mary was forced to confront the truth: she had been loyal to a man who had long since abandoned her emotionally. Christine's departure wasn't just an escape. It was a mirror held up to every wife left behind. And Kody? His spiral grew darker. He began lashing out, not only at the wives but at his own children. Gabriel and Garrison, Janelle's sons, publicly distanced themselves from him after painful confrontations. The divide between father and children widened, and the once proud patriarch now found himself increasingly isolated. Audience tease: and here's where it gets shocking, because what happened next didn't just break the family apart, it changed the future of Sister Wives forever. With Christine's absence, TLC producers scrambled to rewrite the show's narrative. For years, Sister Wives had been built on the premise of unity in diversity, of a family overcoming struggles together. But now? The show's very foundation was crumbling. Producers shifted the focus toward Christine's newfound independence, showcasing her strength while quietly distancing the brand from Kody's rage. Fans noticed. Ratings surged whenever Christine appeared, while episodes centered on Kody and Robin were met with outrage. The tide had turned. The audience no longer saw Kody as a flawed leader trying his best, they saw him as a manipulator exposed. Christine, meanwhile, leaned into her rebirth. She began building projects of her own, hinting at book deals, new shows, and collaborations that celebrated her voice instead of silencing it. And the more she shared, the louder fans cheered. But behind the applause lay a haunting truth: Christine's freedom had come at a cost. Relationships within the Brown family were shattered, children were left estranged from their father, and the illusion of harmony was destroyed. Cliffhanger Hook, and just when the family thought things couldn't possibly get any worse, another shocking revelation emerged. One that would push the Browns past the point of no return. The cracks grow wider, but while Christine's newfound independence was blooming, behind the curtain, the rest of the Brown family was unraveling even faster than anyone realized. On the surface, Robin tried to play the perfect wife, loyal, devoted, endlessly patient. But beneath the calm facade, rumors swirled. Former neighbors, old friends, even members of the extended family whispered about Robin's manipulation and the way she quietly pulled Kody's strings. And here's the shocking part: according to insiders, Robin wasn't just influencing decisions, she was controlling the money. Collision hook, and when the money trail finally came to light, it left fans speechless. Reports began surfacing that the family corporation, the one meant to equally support all the wives, was actually structured to give Robin and Kody complete financial control. Christine, Janelle, and Mary, women who had worked for years, contributing every paycheck, every business idea, every sacrifice, were left with little more than scraps. Christine herself revealed in private conversations that when she sold her Flagstaff home, a shocking portion of her profit went straight back into paying debts tied to Kody and Robin's ventures. Money Christine had earned, money she desperately needed to secure her independence, was siphoned away by the system Kody and Robin created. And here's the brutal twist: Christine didn't even realize how deep the trap went until she was already walking away. A family divided by this point, Janelle was also waking up to the truth. She had always been practical, level-headed, the one to balance the chaos. But as bills piled up, and as she saw her own children struggling for opportunities while Robin's kids received special treatment, her patience began to snap. Janelle asked the question that so many viewers were already asking: where is the fairness? Where is the love? But every time she pushed back, Kody shut her down. He accused her of being disloyal, of undermining him. Yet what Janelle saw was simple: Kody had stopped being a husband to anyone but Robin. Backhand index pointing right hook, and it was only going to get uglier from here. Mary's silence becomes deafening, and then, there was Mary. Mary had already suffered the deepest betrayals: Kody's rejection, his coldness, his outright declaration that there was no marriage left. But instead of exploding, instead of fighting, Mary withdrew into silence. That silence became one of the most haunting parts of the story. Because while Christine chose freedom and Janelle chose confrontation, Mary chose to stay, even when there was nothing left to hold on to. And the world watched in disbelief. Comment sections flooded with heartbreak: why is Mary still there? Why won't she leave? Doesn't she see what's happening? But the truth was more devastating than anyone realized. Mary wasn't just staying out of loyalty, she was staying because she had been conditioned for years to believe that leaving meant betraying not only her family, but her faith. That quiet endurance made Mary the most tragic figure in the collapsing Brown Empire. The audience turns, and here's where things shifted forever. By the time Christine had fully broken away, audiences weren't just watching Sister Wives as reality TV anymore. They were watching it as a cautionary tale, a raw, painful unraveling of a dream that had turned into a nightmare. Fans who once sympathized with Robin now turned on her. Social media comments branded her the homewrecker, the favorite, the one who had destroyed the family from within. And in some ways, they weren't wrong. Robin's tears, once believed to be genuine, now looked like strategy. Every sob, every trembling voice, every dramatic pause suddenly felt staged. And Kody? He was no longer seen as a husband trying to hold his family together. He was now cast as the tyrant, the man who demanded loyalty but gave none in return. Christine's victory. But in the middle of this chaos, Christine's victory stood as a beacon. She wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Her social media posts showed her glowing, laughing, rebuilding her life with her children by her side. She was dating again, rediscovering parts of herself that had been buried under years of sacrifice. And the audience? They cheered her on. Christine had become the hero of the story, the woman who dared to break free from a broken system, and in doing so, gave hope to countless others trapped in unhealthy relationships. Backhand index pointing right hook, but just when Christine thought she had left the chaos behind, another revelation would drag the entire Brown legacy back into the spotlight. Christine's final liberation and the Brown family reckoning. Christine's story was not just about leaving a man. It was about breaking free from decades of control, from emotional manipulation, and from the heavy chains of silence that kept her bound to Kody's world. For years, she had smiled through the pain. For years, she had told herself, maybe tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow never came. What did come, however, was clarity. And once Christine saw the truth, there was no turning back. Hook, but here's where it gets shocking. Christine's decision didn't just set her free. It ignited a chain reaction that would forever change the Brown family's destiny. The day Christine walked away, Christine didn't make a dramatic scene. She didn't scream. She didn't beg. She simply looked at Kody, the man who had dismissed her needs for years, and said, "I deserve better." Those 3 words cut deeper than any argument. Kody had always believed he held the power, that his word was final. But in that moment, Christine shattered the illusion. She became the first wife to choose herself over the illusion of unity. And when she walked out the door, she carried something Kody never expected, the loyalty of millions of viewers who had silently rooted for her freedom. The children's awakening. What Kody failed to see was that his children were watching everything. They had seen him chase Robin's approval, while ignoring birthdays, milestones, and even tears from his older kids. Christine's courage became their roadmap. It whispered to them, you don't have to accept neglect. You don't have to settle for conditional love. And slowly, the walls began to crumble. Janelle's children questioned him. Mary's silence became louder than words. Even Robin's children began noticing the cracks in their so-called perfect family life. Hook, and then came the moment no one, not even Kody himself, saw coming. The backlash when Christine revealed her new life publicly. Fans celebrated. They saw her smiling again, building a home where laughter replaced tension, and where love wasn't conditional. But for Kody and Robin, the backlash was immediate. Online forums exploded. Viewers flooded social media with outrage, calling out Kody's favoritism and Robin's manipulation. The narrative had shifted. For years, they controlled the storyline. Now, the truth was in Christine's hands. And it wasn't just fans. TLC, the very network that made Kody famous, began rethinking its future. Ratings surged whenever Christine appeared, while Kody's segments were filled with anger, bitterness, and excuses. The turning point: Christine had unknowingly started a revolution. Her escape didn't just mark the end of a marriage, it marked the beginning of a movement. Women, fans, even family members began speaking out. The veil was gone. But the most shocking revelation? Christine admitted that she had been warned not to leave, told she would lose everything, told she would fail. And yet, she didn't just survive. She thrived. Her story wasn't one of loss. It was one of victory. Christine's final triumph and the future of the Browns' narrator, Hook. But just when everyone thought the story was over, Christine delivered her most shocking revelation yet, a truth that not only sealed her freedom, but also forever shattered the image of the perfect family Kody and Robin had tried so hard to protect. Christine's declaration. Christine sat down for one final confessional, her voice steady but her words carrying the weight of decades of silence. I spent years believing that sacrifice was the price of love. That obedience was the proof of loyalty. But now,
or, making sure I'm working on relationships in the family. It's like, listen, I'm ready to be me.
I see that love never asks you to lose yourself. Love never demands silence. And loyalty should never cost you your happiness. Her eyes brimmed with tears, but this time, they weren't tears of sorrow. They were tears of victory. The world reacts. When this final confessional aired, the internet went into a frenzy. Clips of Christine's words spread like wildfire across TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Fans called her the queen of escaping polygamy. The woman who broke Kody's spell. Proof that healing is possible. Christine had gone from a silenced wife in the shadows to a national symbol of resilience and freedom. Kody and Robin's collapse. Meanwhile, Kody and Robin faced their darkest chapter. The man who once demanded obedience from 4 women was now reduced to isolation. The dream house he had promised Robin was filled with silence, regret, and tension. Robin, once the so-called favorite, was now seen by many as the symbol of manipulation and destruction. Her cries of being the victim fell flat. No one was listening anymore. The other wives' rise. Mary found her voice. Janelle stood tall with unshakable strength. Christine shone with joy and freedom. Together, these women who were once broken by Kody's rules were now united, not in polygamy, but in truth, in healing, and in independence. Their laughter, their bond, and their shared stories became the foundation of a new legacy. A legacy that belonged to them, not to Kody. The closing hook for your channel. And so, Christine's shocking revelation wasn't just about her new life, it was about rewriting history. About showing the world that even after betrayal, control, and heartbreak, there is still hope. Because freedom, once chosen, cannot be taken back. Narrator, outro. This is Brown House Secrets, and the story of Christine Brown is no longer about escape, it's about triumph. But as one chapter closes, another storm is brewing for Kody and Robyn. And trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next. The breaking point. For years, the Brown family tried to keep their secrets hidden behind the polished walls of reality TV. But what happened behind the cameras was far darker than most fans ever imagined. By the time the cracks appeared on screen, the betrayal had already reached its peak. Kody's obsession with control had destroyed every sense of unity the family once had. He told himself it was about order, about structure, about keeping the family together. But the truth? It was never about love. It was about power. And when power is abused, collapse is inevitable. Mary, the first wife, was left on the sidelines. Once the cornerstone of the family, she became the forgotten shadow in Kody's world. He would look at her with cold detachment, as though she no longer existed. And yet, Mary stayed. She stayed out of loyalty, out of hope, out of the desperate belief that maybe one day, he would see her again. But that day never came. Christine, the brave one, had already walked away. She shattered the illusion by saying what everyone else was too afraid to admit: Kody did not love them equally. Kody never had. Her departure was the first domino. And when she spoke her truth, fans around the world finally saw the cracks in the foundation of polygamy itself. Janelle, quiet but unshakable, held her ground. She was the steady heart of the family, but even she could no longer ignore the favoritism, the lies, the financial manipulation. Her children, especially Garrison and Gabriel, paid the ultimate price for Kody's neglect. And those wounds, deep and bleeding, would never fully heal. And then, there was Robyn. The so-called favorite wife. The woman who entered the family last but took the most. To many fans, she became the symbol of the collapse, shielded, protected, and elevated while the others were left in ruins. Was she a victim of Kody's obsession, or the architect of his downfall? That question still burns in the minds of viewers to this day. But here's the hook you didn't expect: the collapse of the Brown family wasn't just about jealousy or favoritism. It was about survival. Each wife realized, in her own time, that staying meant erasing herself completely. And leaving, though terrifying, was the only way to breathe again. Christine found freedom. Janelle found her voice. Mary, even through heartbreak, found the strength to finally walk away. And Kody? He was left with the bitter truth that a man who demands loyalty without giving love will end up alone. This is not just the story of a family breaking apart. It's the story of women reclaiming their power. And while Kody and Robyn tried to hold on to the empire they built on favoritism and control, the others chose something far greater: peace. But here's the question that will haunt this family forever: was it worth it? Was the dream of sister wives worth the devastation that followed? Stay tuned, because what comes next will shock you even more. The final chapter of the Brown family's collapse is darker, rawer, and more heartbreaking than anyone expected. This is only the beginning. They thought the silence would protect them. They thought the lies would never catch up. But silence has a way of turning into an echo that grows louder, until the truth can no longer be denied. For Christine, the breaking point wasn't just about leaving a marriage. It wasn't just about walking away from a man who had given his love to someone else. It was about saving her soul. It was about saving her children. It was about reclaiming the years she had lost inside a house where her voice was never heard. And when she finally looked into the mirror, she realized she had not lost herself. She had only been hiding. Hiding behind the role of the dutiful wife. Hiding behind Kody's rules. Hiding behind Robin's manipulation. But now? Now, Christine Brown was ready to rise. And here's the hook, she didn't rise quietly. She rose with fire. She rose with truth. And she rose with millions of people watching. Fans across the world began to chant her name. They saw Christine not as a victim, but as a fighter. Someone who stood up to the very system that had trapped her. Someone who said, no more. I deserve better. My children deserve better. And every time Christine spoke, the audience leaned in closer. Her words weren't just about Kody. They weren't just about Robin. They were about every woman who had ever been silenced. Every wife who had ever been told to stay quiet. Every mother who had ever been made to feel invisible. Christine had become their voice. But here's the twist, while Christine was rising, Kody and Robin were collapsing. The more Christine shined, the more the cracks in their so-called perfect union began to show. Arguments behind closed doors. Money slipping away. Children pulling back. The kingdom that Kody thought he had built with Robin? It was already starting to fall apart. Viewers of Brown House Secrets, let me ask you this, how long can a man survive when every wall he built is crumbling? How long can love survive when it was built on favoritism, manipulation, and lies? And how long can Robin keep pretending, when even her children are starting to ask questions? This is where the story takes its most shocking turn yet. Because while Christine was finding freedom, Kody was losing everything. But the most painful part? The people who once stood beside him were now walking away one by one. And the breaking point? It was closer than anyone imagined. Viewers, what you're about to hear might be the most heartbreaking and shocking revelation of all. By now, you've seen the cracks in the Brown family widening, the alliances shifting, and the truth bubbling to the surface. But in this part of the story, those cracks turn into an earthquake that shakes everything apart. Christine, who once stood quietly in the background, now speaks with a clarity and power that no one can ignore. She looks directly into the camera and says, "For years, I thought loyalty meant silence. I thought it meant sacrificing my happiness so that someone else could shine. But the truth is, silence is what nearly destroyed me. And I will never be silent again." This is where the story flips upside down. Christine exposes the painful reality of what life was like behind closed doors with Kody and Robin. She describes a world where promises of unity were replaced with favoritism, where the dream of sisterhood became chains of control. But here's the hook, Christine doesn't just share her pain, she shares her rebirth. She reveals how leaving Kody wasn't just about walking away from a man, it was about reclaiming her soul. About proving to herself and her children that love doesn't come with conditions. That freedom is worth every ounce of risk. And while Christine's words empower millions of women watching, they also send shockwaves through the Brown household. Mary listens in silence, her face a mask of years of hurt. Janelle's eyes brim with tears, not of sorrow, but of recognition. Because Christine is saying the things they all once swallowed. But the real shock comes when Christine describes a private moment, one that no TLC camera crew ever expected to hear about. A moment when Robin cornered her and whispered, "If you can't handle this family, maybe you shouldn't be here at all." Christine admits that was the moment she knew she could no longer stay. And this is where I have to pause and say, viewers, are you beginning to see the picture? Are you beginning to see the truth that was carefully hidden for years? This is no longer just a story of a family. It's a story of survival. It's about women reclaiming their voices after decades of being told to be silent. And here's the most shocking twist of all, Christine is not the only one ready to speak. Because as this part ends, Mary lowers her head, takes a deep breath, and says just 6 words that stop everyone in their tracks: I have a story too. The room goes silent. The air turns heavy. Everyone knows another bombshell is coming. Stay with me, because in part 9 of this unfolding revelation, Mary breaks years of silence. And what she has to say will forever change the legacy of the Brown family. This is Brown House Secrets. And the story is only just beginning.